Good day, folks, and welcome to the Anorak Review Show with your host, the Anorak. You ever heard of the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover? Or in my usual case, don't judge an album by its cover? Well, sometimes there are cases where you come across an album or an EP or a single, whether it's on vinyl or CD or what. You take one glance at its cover and you wonder, what kind of music or what kind of style or genre might be holding within? That's sort of the case for me in terms of what we're looking at today. This will probably be an interesting episode to say the least, partially because I doubt most of you watching this would have even heard of this group, as well as because I don't usually cover EPs. I usually do full-length LP records, and only recently have I tackled some non-album songs and singles. Mostly because they take less time to listen to, and therefore there'd be less to write about, and I would post such reviews much sooner. Whether I've managed to achieve such so far or not, I'll let you judge and decide. So with all that said, let's talk about Stay Ahead of the Weather. To be honest, I couldn't really find a whole lot of information about them, not even a Wikipedia article on them. From what I could learn from a few amount of blogs, articles, and reviews I've managed to find online, is that they are, or were, an emo punk supergroup of sorts comprised of members from other and likely lesser-known bands from Chicago, Illinois. And that's really the most of interest I could find in regards to them. As far as I know, or even the internet itself goes, this is their only record. So let's jump into Stay Ahead of the Weather's 2010 EP, We Better Get Going If We're Gonna. The cover is quite an eye-catcher to say the least, probably because why we bought it at a charity shop to begin with in the first place. Featuring a pretty cool monochrome skyline of presumably Chicago itself, beneath this ominous-looking storm. And over this illustration is a grey illustration of a grey wrinkled hand with tiny bones shooting out and bleeding out of the fingertips before they morph together into a bulbous cloud itself. Don't you hate it when it happens to your hands and fingers? Again, there's not too much to say in regards to the artwork, just that it looks like it could definitely indeed catch someone's attention. Or at least it caught my attention. So, what kind of music would a cover like this represent? Well, let's take a looky as we'll see. On side A, we begin with the first track, Get Old or Get Trying. And already we can get pretty much of an idea what kind of music to expect from this. That sort of American alternative post-punk rock, very reminiscent of bands from the 2000s like Green Day, Fall Out Boy, Foo Fighters, Chemical Romance, and so on. Even the name of the song itself has a somewhat morbid attitude to it. Like the song, and by extension the band itself, knowing that life's too short, so might as well live it out while you still can. The lyrics themselves may have a similar mindset too. Between you and me, I'm a person best kept skeptic of unfamiliar things. At least that's how I feel when it comes to AI, NFTs, and ChatGPT. So when an every evening ended at a more familiar time, I shifted my eyes to what wasn't looking. Like why my laptop wouldn't let me down and install GarageBand, or why my ground bridge keeps acting weird. Well, it's you, failing to use common manners and were confused on what to do. Well, figure out common manners, I'm failing at exactly, and tell me what I can do to be better. The song then goes on to call out people who may tend to smoke indoors, even in their own homes, among other things without consideration of others. The vocalist himself admits to not being rude, but rather trying to humour, understanding that, like, people like you need people like me, as in someone who would offer some wisdom and being proper and considerate. One other thing to note in the song, and possibly the rest of this EP, is that it doesn't seem to follow a clear verse-chorus structure. It's kind of more like a prose of anything else. That said, this is an interesting little curious piece of alt-rock music that definitely sets the tone and mood for the rest of the EP. Side A ends with the second track, Impressions and Impressing People. At 3 minutes and 25 seconds, this is technically the longest track on the EP. So, no wonder it has only 2 songs on the first side. But anyway, this is another serviceable pop thrash song with its raspy guitars, hyperactive drums, and punkish vocals. It's an old familiar sound. I've kept both ears to the ground, but I know nothing will change. I mean, I can relate to that. My parents keep playing the same 5 songs over and over downstairs, and I keep getting tired of it at this point. Because I know just how to make you tick, make a comment, make me sick, same old actions, different day. Sounds like how some people use social media. Hey, I'll wait outside. I'd rather not run into you tonight. Especially since I forgot to put on a good outfit for the occasion. Anyway, the same way the song and its title could be interpreted as you either waste away your life even when you get old, or actually live it even if it kills you, this second song's title could very well be about how we may concern ourselves with how others may potentially see and judge us, whether we try too hard or not hard enough. We fear that people are just going to keep laughing at us anyway, no matter whatever we try or do. Whether it involves something as simple as trying to accomplish something or trying to fit into a particular group or class, such as the punk scene. Then we got to wonder, do we really do what we do because we're expressing who and what we are inside? Or are we just pretending and playing a part just to fit in? Just like the song says, impressing people and impressing people don't go hand in hand. Nothing personal, nothing practical, it's just method acting. Side B begins with the third track, Sorority Social Suicide. Alliteration. Gotta love it. Although, it sounds like something you'd see and read in big bold text on the front page of a tabloid newspaper or magazine. I'm thinking either Heat, Hello, OK, or The Sun. How about you? Anyways, here's when the songs get a tad shorter than they already were to begin with, possibly to fit in one side of the EP. But even then, they still maintain that same amount of speed and energy that the previous 2 tracks have. And this is no exception. Once again, it paints the picture of a freeloading slacker, or a bunch of them, living in a somewhat shabby house or flat that doesn't even seem completely tidy enough and is on the verge of cracking and wearing off. So already I can kind of relate to this. You see, your reputation precedes yourself. It's the reason those outside your circle hardly hold their breath for you to figure it out. Especially when your reputation involves you breaking wind without warning beforehand. That's why people are having to hold their breaths. No one will move into this house, but you'll still be proud, partied out, with ignorance and bliss to go around. And that's why it's best not to have a hangover before realizing you have to pay the rent. No one's home, no one's asking what you're up to, and was this what I asked for? I mean, you did ask me to commission that artwork for you as you wanted, so what exactly are you complaining about here? Then the song goes on about alcohol and silo cans, drunken dudes who tolerate you, and mixing beer and fruit juice. So basically a typical weekend at Critical Drinker's house. Or maybe it is what it is like at an actual sorority party. I mean, I can guess that's what the sorority social aspect of the title comes in, but I still don't know about the suicide part of it though. Regardless though, this continues the mood, tone, and style of the prior songs, and it ends just as quickly as that. Next is the fourth, penultimate, and shortest track on the EP, No Sleep Till Humboldt. At only a minute and 42 seconds. I know I said the tracks here can be pretty short and quick, but still. That said though, it's not bad, not even half bad either, just half good, if that makes any sense. The lead vocalist goes on about being forgetful and where he'd be without the things that commonly make up his day, like a wallet and phone and keys. Yeah, I know how that feels. I sometimes wonder where I would be without my fanfictions that very few people read and all the Xbox games I rarely even play anymore anyway. He then says to meet at the back porch. For what exactly it's never stated. Maybe they're planning to play Minecraft or playing that Chicken Jockey song. And then go see that Thunderbolts movie. And that Lilo and Stitch remake. I guess my gripe with this track is that it does feel like half a song. Like they had come up with an opening, a verse or two, and maybe a chorus as well, but then decided to just leave it at that and not do any more else with it. Of course, there have been much short songs I happen to like such as Punk by Gorillaz and Stop by Pink Floyd, but at least in those cases, they still sounded distinct enough that they could stand out in their own way. Nothing against this song or this band in general, just a preference of style, I suppose. The EP concludes with the fifth and final track, Butchering a Black Catalogue. Like the rest of the songs, this one definitely sounds like something out of 2000s alternative post-punk rock and metalcore, like A Day to Remember or Attack Attack or I'm a Robot. You know, the sort of rock music that you'd hear in some of Kitty 0706's videos. Points to you if you remember who that was. The song itself kicks off right away with its punky drums and guitars as well as the vocals singing. The door's off his hinges to the tune of Who Will Fix It for a deadline set for a stubborn man whose talent's aging poorly. They'd probably blame it on the tariffs anyway. I'm sorely mistaken. It's my heart that's breaking, so don't pick up the pieces. Especially when the pieces happen to be sharp. I wouldn't want you to cut yourself. I've sure as hell formed new opinions now. I'm outspoken for the moment. And yeah, people go at me for being indifferent towards that Thunderbolts movie I mentioned. The singer goes on about how you used to be young, broke, and happy, word savvy and sappy and slightly out of tune. Kinda sounds like my mum the more I think about it. Then they sing a few questions like, how's that reflection? Where's the inspiration? What's the difference between you and me? Etc. Before accusing you of having worn your welcome thin through sad renditions of classic structures, bending badly. I know I just mentioned the Lilo and Stitch remake earlier, but I think these guys just predicted the live-action Disney readaptations. This EP is pretty much alright. Mind you, it's altogether very short, clocking up to a total of about 12 minutes and 46 seconds. That's roughly half one side of a record. So if they did like 15 more songs the same general lengths as the ones here, they would have one full single disc LP album. That said though, the songs themselves aren't too bad. Again, if you're into 2000s American alt rock and metalcore. And if you are, you might like this one fine. Otherwise, they may sound a bit indistinct and derivative of each other and from each other. At least to anyone who's not familiar with this sort of thing and style anyway. If it's not up your cup of tea, you can give it a pass if you want, if it's not your thing. Otherwise, if you are into American metalcore and stuff, I can recommend staying ahead of the weathers. We better get going if we're gonna. Assuming you can actually find it, of course. I don't know if there still are any copies of this EP out there somewhere, especially since this is the only record done by this band. But if you happen to be in a charity shop or what the Americans call a thrift store, go check out through any of the record shelves to see if they have this. Otherwise, you could probably find the whole thing on Amazon, Bandcamp, or even YouTube. And if you do, go ahead and check it out if you're into pop punk, emo rock, and metalcore. You better get going if you're gonna. Next time, we go back to the 80s to look at a couple of singles by Phil Collins. And let's just say, they can be quite groovy, living in just one mind. Hey there, Anorak. Long time no see. Oh, hey, Agent Maze. How was that expedition of yours? It's been quite a while. Oh, you know, wandering about and exploring, searching for any signal just to get into contact with you lot. And, spending nearly 2 years wandering about on a strange island in the middle of the ocean, which turned out to be a titan and a kaiju. So, one of those things, ain't it, eh? Pretty much. So what did I miss? Well, aside from me winning the 1050th Contest of Champions last year, there was apparently some invasion of Jupiter recently by the Galactic Empire. Probably because Big Jack Films has finally started reviewing the Star Wars prequels. Is he now? Well, in that case, I look forward to if and when he covers the sequel trilogy. Yeah, but that's not all. Apparently, some of our fellow reviewers are there too. Spectroheliotic, Tender the Seal, just to name a few. Also, our systems have been detecting some similar activities going on over at Neptune of all places. You think that might be the Empire as well? Not sure. Probably something else entirely. A threat that we haven't seen in a while. Something greater. This should be very interesting. Very interesting.